Good morning. Welcome to the Kauffman FastTrac author series. My name is Michele Markey. I'm the Vice President of Kauffman FastTrac, and I'm honored to be the author this month. I welcome all of you. We have a great turnout for this webcast, and I'm thrilled to be here. The topic this month, my book, is called SheVENTURE, Success Strategies for Female Entrepreneurs. I decided to write this book, and I'm going to share a little bit of a story with you as we go through this webcast. But I decided to write this book some time ago. Over the course of the last several years, I've had the opportunity to speak at various events and interact with people, probably some much like yourselves that have entrepreneurial dreams, have long thought about starting a business, but maybe haven't quite gotten there. And others of you maybe have already gone ahead and pursued your dreams. But in every instance, my interaction with would-be entrepreneurs and young startup entrepreneurs, specifically on the female side of the house, are often come with several questions that tend to be very consistent. And so those questions were around engaging and learning how to navigate in their venture, work with others in the entrepreneurial field, and just a host of those sorts of things. And it occurred to me over time that because there's so many questions that tend to be consistent, that I could compile those and put them in a book. So that is exactly what we're going to talk about today. So as we go, I thought I'd start by sharing some numbers with you. And these recently came out. You can see the source is the 2014 State of Women-Owned Business Report commissioned by Amex Open. What it's telling us, and this is really just a summary, is there has really not ever been a better time to explore entrepreneurship, specifically for the female entrepreneur. So as you can see here, and I won't read a lot of it to you, but there are a growing number of women-owned enterprises, nearly 9.1 million currently as of this year, employing a tremendous amount of workers and generating over $1 trillion in revenues. And these firms are growing. So when I'm reading this report, as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking to myself, for all of the legions of us that are considering doing exactly what these women entrepreneurs are doing, I find these numbers extremely encouraging. Additionally, if you look at that first bullet, on average over this period, there's been a net increase of 591 women-owned firms each day. So again, I want to set the stage for this particular webinar, for this author series, with the premise that if you are on this call and you are thinking of an entrepreneurial endeavor, you're thinking of pursuing that, or for some of you that are maybe supporting entrepreneurs in their endeavor, or maybe you're somebody, again, that's launched your business, the time is right for us to do this. One of the things that I'll share with you in this particular webcast is that there are a tremendous amount of resources available to you as an entrepreneur and in supporting you as you look at developing your business. So this is the book that I've recently published, and again, it is aimed at the female entrepreneur. One of the questions that I have gotten is, Michele, why would you write something specific to the female? Aren't all entrepreneurs really dealing with the very same sorts of things? And the reality is, yes, there are some very common things that all entrepreneurs need to be aware of, whether that be really defining their market and they're really getting clear on who their customers are, or maybe being very crystal clear on their business financials and those sorts of things. all entrepreneurs need to be considering those avenues and those pieces of information. Nevertheless, for the female entrepreneur, there are some additional concerns or areas where we need to be talking, whether it be growing their network or figuring out how to expand their negotiation skills. And those are the things that I ended up thinking that would be most relevant in terms of information for the book. So I'll start by telling you a little bit of my story, and then we'll get into some of the success strategies that we learned. So my history is, some time ago, I had an interesting background in manufacturing. And it's an interesting story how I got there, but the point of it being, over the years, I worked in manufacturing and had a lot of experience in shop floor design and layout, Kaizen, process efficiencies, inventory, warehousing, and those sorts of things. And as a result, I had received a call from the American Management Association, and they were looking for somebody to actually develop some training for their product line specific to inventory and warehousing, and they were wondering if I'd want to develop that particular training. And so I said, absolutely, I would love to do that. And so I had to form a business. I had to form a legal entity. So I gave virtually no thought to my legal structure as far as the brand, the name of my organization, really nothing. I simply turned my paperwork into the state as Michele Markey and Associates, and it was 1994. Again, so I had written this inventory and warehousing program for them. Something else that they asked of me is whenever you write a program for them, they also want you to deliver that training program. And so I happily did that, and it was really fun and very interesting. And so over time, they called me more and more frequently. And at some point, I thought to myself, I'm getting enough business really from the American Management Association that I could probably pursue this as a full-time endeavor. I could probably make more money doing this than being a traditional kind of employee wherever I was working at the time. So again, I just formed my company, or my entity, if you will, as Michele Markey and Associates, and really kind of went from there, not really doing anything more formal. And as a result, as I look back on it, I was what I would tell you as an accidental entrepreneur. So in a sense, I sort of almost fell into this role of entrepreneurship, of business ownership. Even if I was a solo, I was doing it as kind of an accidental. I did very little formal planning for my entity. I didn't take the time to think through my structure, and I certainly didn't do any kind of formal planning as it pertained to my business. For a long time, I will tell you that it was okay in the sense that I was getting plenty of business, but if I had been more intentional in thinking about how to really build a structure, it would have been a much more successful entity. So if you look at the kind of the right-hand side here, intentional entrepreneurs are those people that really say, I'm going to take the time and step back from jumping in with both feet and think through what would it look like if I put together not only a strategic plan, but simply even a business plan to help myself get started. Really think through marketing strategies like I talked about earlier, and financials, and really the actual structure. What would it look like if I really engaged with a network of people that were knowledgeable in business startup and in the resources that were available, and what would it have looked like for me to do that? I have to tell you, for many, many years, I stayed more so on the accidental side, in the sense of of not investing in more formal planning. Now, at the end of the day, I was smart enough to know that I had all my eggs in one basket. My primary customer was the American Management Association, and I was doing inventory and warehousing sorts of training for them. And I knew that I had to do something more, that there may not long-term be enough work there. So I did take that and say, how can I become more marketable? The point that I think is really important here is I did do some things, and I'll share that with you in a minute, but I was still reacting as a solo kind of entity. I still was not taking this to the level of thinking, how can I be more strategic and grow this business? So what I did was I was doing the inventory and warehousing sorts of training. And again, I was smart enough to know that there are some things that kind of go hand in glove with this. So I got myself certified as an OSHA 501 was I was certified in. So I could develop and deliver OSHA sorts of training. Almost all, obviously, manufacturing has OSHA concerns that they have to deal with in terms of keeping their employee base safe. Likewise, most manufacturing obviously is dealing with materials movement, and as a result has a need to be in compliance with Department of Transportation regulations and those sorts of things. So I became knowledgeable with regard to Department of Transportation. And in doing this, what I was looking at was, how can I decrease my risk? So if I could be more marketable to American Management Association, then I figured I would be getting more work. And the reality is I did their inventory and warehousing for many of their kind of seminars and many of their corporate customers, OSHA, DOT, and frankly I even expanded into human resources compliance-based training, so avoiding harassment, discrimination, and those sorts of things. So there was plenty of work for me. The reality of it was, however, I was still interacting with an employee mindset. I was still looking at, without even really recognizing it, I was still looking at myself as finding a way to keep my calendar busy and more of an employee. And in fact, this is very similar to what my calendar looked like. And I reached a point where if my calendar was filled, and at every turn, every day that I was booked obviously meant that I was making money. But as nice as this calendar might appear to be from a financial standpoint, I have to tell you, when I looked at what this was doing to just my overall life, if you will, what it meant was that I was literally climbing on a plane virtually every Sunday and traveling all week and coming home Friday afternoon, and literally would be home, late Friday and then Saturday. My youngest daughter, who's now a senior in college, was a competitive volleyball player, and I have to tell you, in her last couple of years of playing in high school ball, I saw exactly 0 of her games, and that's a true story. And at some point, something had to change, and I realized, this is kind of what I was looking like. I was reacting again from an employee mindset. So if I looked at my calendar and said I need some time here where I'm not traveling, really what that would equate to is days that I wasn't training or developing were days that I wasn't earning any money. So it was an interesting balance, or in fact lack of balance, that I really ended up experiencing. Now, interestingly, I think many entrepreneurs, or many solo entrepreneurs in particular, solo or micro, maybe are in this same vicious circle that I was in that, I recognize that what I'm telling you is a high-class problem, in that, having a calendar that is that full is a really kind of a nice problem, but at the other hand, the reality is that it's a trade-off. And so when I talk with entrepreneurs today, and in particular female entrepreneurs, many of the things that I experienced as kind of as an accidental entrepreneur are things that many women are experiencing, and there are just issues that continue to come up. And that again is really what is at the root of my reasoning behind writing SheVENTURE. And by the way, you'll see at the bottom of all my slides, I do tweet, participate in Twitter under the same name. So what I try and do is put things out there that are relevant to you as entrepreneurs or to you as people that support an entrepreneurial community. Again, a high-class problem to have, I recognize that. But what ended up happening was my husband had said to me that, Michele, there are classes that you can take that will help you become more intentional in your pursuit. And in fact, he recommended to me a Kauffman FastTrac program, and I ended up attending a FastTrac program. FastTrac, in fact, I attended FastTrac New Venture, even though my entity had been in existence for several years. I, again, still was interacting in a business sense from a very kind of startup mentality. And so what I needed to develop was an entrepreneurial mindset. And FastTrac really helped me do that. And in fact, really helped me change the way I viewed my business. And at the end of the day, after taking that course, one of the things that I recognized was, I don't have to be a slave to my calendar. I can do things much more in a much more smart method, if you will. So, for example, one of the things that I changed about my business, in fact, a couple of the different things I changed about my business after attending my FastTrac course was looking at my market a little bit differently. One of the things that I did was, if you think back to the graphic I showed you with inventory and warehousing, and then the next slide or the next piece was OSHA, then DOT, and ultimately HR. One of the things that I ended up doing was going after much larger contracts and actually not only pursuing the same topic area, but I ended up bringing on a colleague to work with me, and her first language is Spanish. And for many of my customers, having training and those sorts of things available to their workforce whose first language may not be English, but in fact oftentimes for many of my customers was Spanish, was a way for me to really grow my business. So in fact, I was able to go after contracts that would allow me to have her fulfill some of those needs. So it took care of some of my calendar issues. It allowed me to go after, again, bigger contracts. In fact, one of my largest customers had an employee base of 18,000 associates spread throughout the United States. So I was able to leverage that kind of mindset much more successfully. I will tell you, I also turned in paperwork to the state to change the name of my company, or at least have a fictitious name, so that it wasn't Michele Markey and Associates. What I found when I started growing my business is, in that industry, you're often known by your reputation, which is a really useful thing if you do a great job, and I was lucky about that. But I needed to change the mindset of what we were able to offer, and so I changed the name of my company. So I really engaged in thinking not only about how to grow my market, but how to change the brand of what I was offering to the marketplace. So those are some of the lessons I had as I really looked at how to be more successful in terms of growing a business. It's an interesting path, and one that I find that many of us find ourselves on. So with that in mind, I wanted to offer you what I would say are maybe the top 5 success strategies for female entrepreneurs. There are more, but these are the ones that I think are maybe the greatest ones to start with based on my experience and based on the experience I've had talking with women, not only throughout this country but globally as they pursue their entrepreneurial endeavors. The first strategy that I'd like to share with you is to really get crystal clear on what your vision is. Now, I want to take a step back from this for 1 second. Some of you, again, are considering business ownership or launching a business. So you have a very strong need to define your vision. Some of you on the call, I know, are already business owners. Regardless of whether or not you've launched your endeavor, having a real clear vision of where you're going to go, what you're going to do, and how you're going to achieve it is really an important strategy. And when I talk with entrepreneurs, even today, yesterday, day before, and I ask them about what their vision is for their entity, it's amazing to me that oftentimes people haven't really thought about it because we're so involved in our day in, day out sort of existence. So I want to be specific here and saying, let's look at your vision. I want you to think about that. As you do, let me share just one more story with you as it relates to kind of my path, if you will. So several years ago, I had decided one of the things that I was interested in achieving on a personal level was I wanted to run a marathon. And so I thought it'd be a kind of a nice and interesting goal and things like that. The important thing for me to share with you is I had not been a long-distance runner ever. At the most, I'd run maybe 5Ks, 3 miles, something like that. So I'd gone to a local store to get some running shoes, some new tennis shoes. And right by the register was a flyer for a marathon training group. And I thought to myself, wow, this is great. I mean, this is amazing. What perfect timing. So I picked the flyer up and I put it in my bag and went home. And I thought this is going to be a really interesting thing for me to participate in. As the time drew closer for the beginning meeting, I became more and more uncomfortable that maybe I wasn't really capable of running the marathon, because in my mind's eye, this is what marathon runners look like, just like I have on your screen. And I don't look like any of them. And so I started really doubting myself. I thought, I'm not a lean, tall runner kind of person, and I don't look like a marathoner. And so I'm going to go to this meeting, and I'm going to be completely different than everybody else there. And I have to tell you, I talked myself out of going, and I did not attend that meeting. And the marathon that I originally thought I was going to do was the Disney Marathon, and I did not do that. And I think sometimes when we talk about entrepreneurship, especially for the female entrepreneur, for many of us, when we think about what does an entrepreneur look like, we think of Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and for many of us, those are exactly like this picture. They don't really relate to us. And so a lot of women, I find, oftentimes doubt their capabilities as it pertains to entrepreneurial endeavors. And I want to change the dialogue. And in fact, the interesting thing was, if I go back to my marathon story, I told you I did not run that marathon. And 6 months later, what I didn't realize at the time were that marathons had seasons. They're typically spring marathons and they're fall marathons. And so I'd gone back about 6 months later, and I was replacing my tennis shoes, and lo and behold, there was another flyer there. And I thought, wow, I mean, maybe this is meant to be. So again, I picked it up and I put it in my bag, and I went home and I kind of did the same thing. But I have to tell you, at that time, I forced myself to attend that meeting, and I got there, and it was the most amazing thing for me. The room was filled with people of certainly both genders, all age groups from 40s to 60s and maybe even 70s, and all abilities and levels of running. What I learned was that there are people that certainly are your 8-minute mile marathoners, and there are those that are maybe 13-minute mile marathoners. And sitting in that room, I looked around and I thought, you know what, this is the melting pot of exactly what it ought to be. And I think entrepreneurship is exactly the same thing. So I want to encourage you to think about not what you think might be, but to develop your own vision of what it means for you. So as you think forward, think about where you are today and where do you want to be a year from now. And really think through what might that look like. You know, a lot of people, a lot of athletes in particular, use this visioning sort of exercise, and I think it's an amazingly useful exercise for us, especially as we think about what it might mean to launch our business, our business endeavor. One of the things that I want to put out there for you too is it doesn't have to be an either or. There are many, many entrepreneurs today who are stepping into their business or transitioning into it. So having meaningful full-time employment and then thinking about their entrepreneurial endeavor as something that maybe they begin on a part-time basis, on the side basis, and then working into it. So again, I want to encourage you to really think big, think outside the box as to what might be. Some people find it useful to use vision boards, and this was mine for in fact, I did this over the holidays last year, and what I really want to draw your attention to, I won't bore you with every picture that's on here, but my book was front and center on my vision board this past year. And even though I've been thinking about it and kind of working on it, my commitment to myself was that I'm going to really pursue getting this book published in this calendar year. And so when I did this, and again, you know, you'll have to decide if this is a useful tool for you or not. For many people it is. I simply put these pictures together in a PowerPoint slide. I sent this picture to Walgreens, and I had several copies printed. I would keep one on the desk in front of me. I would put one in my, kind of in my backpack or my briefcase, with a mind's eye towards saying, this is a commitment that I've made to myself, and I really want to pursue this. I don't want to look back and say, you know, I shoulda, woulda, coulda, and why did I never do this? So it was a way for me to hold myself accountable. If this is a tool that works for you, I will tell you it's something that many of us find useful. Michael Phelps, in the public eye, is one of the most big proponents of visioning. So I think it's an interesting deal. So what I want you to think about out of this particular call is first and foremost, what does your one-year vision look like? What kind of commitment do you want to make to yourself? It's really to no one else. So whether it is for me, like it was to run a marathon, to pursue getting my book completed and published, or whatever it might be, what is your one-year vision for yourself? I want to encourage you to not overanalyze this and not put some boundaries on yourself. I would take the boundaries off and let yourself think big. Think outside of, again, the kind of the paradigms that you might have, and just go for broke. It's not a commitment that you want to limit yourself on. So that's the very first success strategy, is to really think through your vision. I advocate for the 1 year. Many people like to take and do maybe a 3-year vision. That's your choice as to how you want to do it. The second success strategy I want to share with you is to really find a group of people that can help you along your path. So there's an interesting quotation here by Gene Case, and that is, wake up every day knowing the 1 or 2 people you must talk with. Put it on your list of action items for the day. I think a big aha for many of us in our pursuit of our dreams, our pursuit of our entrepreneurial dreams, is that there is a network of people out there that are ready and willing to help you. It's amazing to me the response you get when you ask people to join you and support you and really engage with you. There's a tremendous support network of people in all of our communities. So I want to share some of them with you. These are some that are out there even today. So I'm going to start with the one at the top, which is Global Entrepreneurship Week. Even if you haven't started your business yet, Global Entrepreneurship Week is something that is a wonderful way for you to jump into what's going on in the communities. The activities in Global Entrepreneurship Week take place in more than 150 countries throughout the world. They are in many, many communities. To find out more about what's going on in your community, go to unleashingideas.org. I will tell you that GEW this year is coming up, so the timing of this particular author series is perfect. Global Entrepreneurship Week starts November 17th. Again, in communities throughout the world. In particular, that week, Wednesday, has been designated as Women's Entrepreneurship Day. So there is a day dedicated during that week to supporting female entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurial activities. We, in fact, are having, for those of you that happen to be local in the Kansas City area, we, Kauffman FastTrac, are having an event during that Wednesday, which is kind of a lunch and learn, if you will, a speed networking, speed mentoring session. You can learn more about that at fasttrac.org. But again, even if you're not in Kansas City, there's an amazing amount of opportunity there. Additionally, I want you to know about US SourceLink. What SourceLink is an entity that is sort of the coordinator or the repository of all the different activities and resources that are in your communities. SourceLink is sort of the entity that helps us know what all is out there for us in our designated communities. So check out US SourceLink. The other really, really cool thing that's going on that I think is an important note for you is at the bottom right, which is 1 Million Cups. 1 Million Cups is an event that is held every Wednesday in a growing number of communities throughout the United States. It is every Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock, regardless of your time zone. Your Wednesday, 9 o'clock, your time in the morning, from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. What it is a networking event that features usually 2 entrepreneurs that come and tell their story. And so one entrepreneur gets up, tells their story about their business and what they're doing, and then there's about 15 minutes of question and answer by those that are attending. The last question asked of the entrepreneur is, how can we as a community support you in your entrepreneurial endeavor? And so it's a very strong community-based activity. You can go to 1 Million Cups and see if there is an event in your community or in one close by. If there's not one in your community, the one we hold in Kansas City each Wednesday at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time is live streamed. So you can watch and you can participate via Twitter. If you are not available at Wednesdays at 9 o'clock, all of the events that we hold here in Kansas City are archived out on the 1 Million Cups website. So you can go out there and look at those, watch some of them, look at what these entrepreneurs are doing. But my point in showing you these 3 are the biggest supportive thing that you can do for yourself is to actually get involved in the community. As I mentioned earlier, you'll be amazed at the support and the helpfulness of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. We are truly a giving bunch. And as you think about your vision, and if you want to get out there and start talking to people and giving words to kind of what you're looking at doing, what your strategy is, what your plan is, these are the folks that are out there that are saying, let me help you in whatever way I possibly can. So I want you to think about not only where your one-year vision, what it might be, but where are you today? So looking at what that might look like. Okay? The third success strategy I want to share with you is take action to fill your knowledge gaps. And I like the quotation by Susie Orman, in all realms of life, it takes courage to stretch your limits, express your power, and fulfill your potential. So let me explain to you why I think this is an important success strategy. One of the things that gives people pause when they start thinking about becoming, investing in a business launch, if you will, sometimes they'll say, there are too many things that I don't know. I don't understand. Maybe I don't understand the financials, and so I don't know how I can actually launch and start a business. What I will tell you is this: for every entrepreneur that is out there, they will find that there are things that they don't know. There are gaps for all of us, and that's okay. It's all right to say there are some things that I don't know. The point being that there are ways for you to learn what you need to. And I'll add to that, you don't have to know everything. You just have to be conversational. So here are some resources that I want you to know about. Kauffman FastTrac offers, through our affiliate partners in many different locations throughout the United States, a course called Kauffman FastTrac New Venture, which is the course that I took. That is a course for people that have a business idea that would like to determine if that idea is feasible, and assuming it is feasible, then how to take that business and actually take it from the idea stage into the development of an actual entity. That's just one of the courses. So again, it's out there and available to you. There's also a video, series, if you will, called Kauffman Founders School. And this is out on the web right now. You can go to Kauffman Founders School, and there are a host of different subject areas, one being financials, one being entrepreneurial selling, another on entrepreneurial marketing. So that's a resource that's available to you today. You can go to that and look at it right now. There's also courses out there that are offered through entities such as Coursera. If you're not familiar with Coursera, and there are many other similar types of things, but Coursera is a free offering that is many universities, whether it be Northwestern or I think Harvard has a few out there, many very notable schools that offer online courses for free. So let me give you an example. Many entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs struggle with the thing that I mentioned to you earlier, which is the financials. And you can take a Coursera course that is simply on business financials. Now, they won't have them necessarily always available when you want them at that given time, but as you're thinking about this one-year vision, think about where you want to maybe boost some of your skills, and then put that in your plan. How might you do that? At the end of the day, again, if I stay with the financial example, you don't need to become a CPA. You don't have to do that. But what you do need to do is find a way to at least be conversational in certain areas, financials being one of them. Something else that you may want to consider at this point too is, as you look at your vision, not only, again, if I stay with the financial example, not only do you not have to become necessarily a financial whiz, but you may want to engage with somebody that is very knowledgeable in business financials or on the legal side of the house or what have you. Again, our role as entrepreneurs is to be knowledgeable about our business, to understand what it is we want to do, and then to get the proper background to help us be, again, have a seat at the table, but also know when to leverage the expertise of other individuals. And that's a success strategy in and of itself. Okay? So, again, in your path forward, thinking about your one-year vision and then saying, here's where I want to be, and then here's where I am today, and where does the gap lie? And what is involved in the gap between where I am and where I want to be? And thinking about then, what do I want to do to kind of start closing that gap over the course of the next year? Part of that should include what do you want to establish as your brand. So one of the things that I mentioned to you earlier, when I first kind of became a solo endeavor as Michele Markey and Associates, I didn't really give a lot of thought to a brand. And in today's world, I think it's really a foundational issue. Whether or not we think about that typically or not, establishing a strong brand is important. So one of the things you want to be considering is how do I want to introduce myself to the world? How do I want to interact with the world? How do I want to interact with my potential customer base? So for me, one of the things that I determined, over the past couple of years is my niche that I want to interact in entrepreneurship. I'm really supporting the female entrepreneurs. So my Twitter becoming SheVENTURE, my book becoming SheVENTURE are part of a brand. So I want you to consider what that might be to you. One of the people that I've interacted with is she's a wonderful entrepreneurial story, a lady by the name of Kara Ross. And Kara is designed for most gorgeous, as you can see on the screen, handbags and jewelry and things like that. She's a certified gemologist. And all of her pieces reflect her love of this gem kind of based product line that she's developed. So you can see on the purses on the left, the clutches, they all carry a kind of a theme, if you will, as far as the closure of the bags, the gems. Her jewelry similarly does so too. So again, think about the look, the feel, the kind of the importance of doing those sorts of things. Okay? So I want you to think about these items, and I want you to understand and think through what are you doing to be competitive. So if I go back to the example of Kara Ross, there are a lot of people out there that design purses and jewelry, but she's found a niche that she really wants to own. She wants to be very specific in, and that is the continuity of using the gems in her line of work. So again, think about how you want to look and feel and sound and interact and where you want to be in your space. Whatever that might be, right? So whether it's Kara Ross or whether it's the Starbucks of the coffee world or what it might be, think about that as you consider what your vision might be. The last success strategy I want to share with you, and then I want to open it up to Q&A, is a concept that's not often necessarily talked about in traditional business development, and that is the concept of doing well by doing good. As I mentioned to you on the kind of the community aspect, entrepreneurs tend to be truly a giving bunch, and there's a movement underfoot of this whole concept of doing well by doing good, and that is being successful and helping others be successful in your endeavor. So the last story I'm going to share with you is of an entrepreneur by the name of Liz Bohannon. Liz started a company called Seiko Designs, and I'm going to spell that for you. It's S-S-E-K-O Designs. Kind of the Reader's Digest story of Liz is that she has a passion for helping females achieve their dreams, in particular in Uganda. And so this is a picture of her with many of the women that she's working with. Seiko is a sandal company. It started off to be a sandal company. And so the story of Liz is this. In Uganda, when people graduate from high school, what they would call their high school, they may graduate at different ages, very unlike kind of what we would see here in the U.S. But there's a gap of time from when they finish their high school education and before they start what they would call university. This gap of time is intended to allow people to have the time to get a job and save some money in order to be able to pay for their university education. Well, the realities of the world there are this. There are not that many jobs, and those jobs that are available are typically go to men. And if a female in Uganda actually is able to get a job, the reality then becomes that much of that income goes to help support the family. And so what Seiko does is employs women during this gap of time between their traditional high school and university education. And the money that they earn goes into an account, a trust account, if you will. And when there's enough money for that female, then Seiko provides a scholarship for that female to go attend university. They do actually earn some of the money and are able to take some of it as they, for their living expenses. But the point here is this. At this point in time, more than 50 women have been able to pursue their dreams of attending university because of a company that Liz Bohannon set up to help them achieve those dreams. If you're interested in learning more, I'd encourage you to go to Seiko Designs and look at what Liz has done. It is a true social endeavor, but it is in the truest sense a way to build a company that has a greater good in mind. And as a result, her company has grown significantly. She now offers, or Seiko now offers, in addition to sandals, they offer scarves, they offer bags, they offer clutches and different things like that. It's a success story in the truest sense of the word. And actually, I will share with you, Liz is a FastTrac graduate and has realized, she and her husband together have realized a dream that has expanded to help a growing body of people. So my suggestion to you is, coming out of the webinar, make a commitment to yourself. Think about your one-year vision, but I'm going to challenge you even further beyond that. What are you going to do in the next 30 days? Think about 30 days being your real commitment to yourself, whether that is to begin work on your vision or to begin thinking about what you want to achieve and what that might look like. So when we come back together in the next 30 days, if we were to come back together, what would you be doing differently 30 days from now to what you're doing today? So with that, thank you so much for attending the webinar. I'm thrilled to have been here. I want to open it up to questions, and if there are some, I'm happy to answer them. And I think we do actually have some questions, so let me get them out there. So bear with me here. All right, so one of the questions was, first off, will the slides be available after the session? In fact, yes, they will. We will have them posted out on fasttrac.org/author. You'll see a link to the webinar, and you will see the slides, so they'll all be out there. The next question and comment was, I got slammed by the 2007 recession and starting over with everything. any advice for a baby boomer and reinventing oneself? It's an excellent question. There's an interesting dynamic that's even more complex for the baby boomer entrepreneurs. Interestingly, we're seeing a lot of females at the boomer age group enter entrepreneurship. One suggestion I would make to you is this. Be really crystal clear on what your objectives are. So in other words, when people are of the baby boomer age, when you're thinking about how to enter the entrepreneurial endeavor, I want you to also be planning at the very same time what your exit's going to look like. And I know that might sound crazy, but here's the thing. We have, as boomers, the math has to work differently. Our entry and exit may be 5 years. It may be 10. I don't know. But I do know that we are not like a 20-year-old or 25-year-old that has maybe a 30 or 40-year kind of a look. So be clear on what your objectives are. How do you want to participate in this endeavor? How much are you going to invest? And how many years do you have to think about this entrepreneurial endeavor? And your investment and your years, again, this is where your math has to work out. So it's an important consideration. Okay, next question is, I'm an artist designer with diverse talents. How do I narrow my focus to create my own brand of products? One of the things that I would really suggest to you, I'm thrilled to see more people that are on the creative side of the house looking at entrepreneurship as considering themselves as entrepreneurs. One of the things that I would really consider doing is taking a real clear look at who else is in the marketplace and who your target customers are. So I would really get a real good description of who is your customer, what is their age range, what is their spending ability or capacity, and how can you fit within that? And then knowing who your customers are, how can you reach that demographic is an important consideration as well. Next question is, do we have a program that's designed for female veterans? We do at Kauffman FastTrac have a program that is specifically designed for veterans, and we have one that's designed for females. Very simply put, they're two separate courses, but they're both FastTrac New Venture. So you can attend a FastTrac New Venture course, and it would be specific to helping you get your idea launched. But I don't have anything specific to a combo female veteran. But it's still the same conversations we need to be having. Okay? Let me look at one of the questions that I have is, I'm a postgraduate student who's interested in social entrepreneurship in Southeast Asia. Do we have any inputs for a soon-to-be social impact like me? One of the things I would suggest to you, and thank you for that question, and that's one of the reasons I put Liz Bohannon's story up there and the doing well by doing good. I think we will continue to see a rise in social entrepreneurship and people that are focused on trying to support a greater good or greater cause, if you will. Keep an eye out on fasttrac.org and certainly on our social media. More and more we are seeing, as we're seeing an interest in this, we are pursuing making sure that we get content out there that will help those of you that are interested in thinking about how to engage in a social endeavor, if you will. Okay. One of the other questions that I have is, what mentorship programs would you recommend? That would be particular to your own specific community. Here, I think that one of the things that you might consider is looking at, hopefully you have a 1 Million Cups in your area. And even though that is not a mentorship program at all, I think that what you would find in those sorts of activities, whether it be those or even the activities during Global Entrepreneurship Week, is maybe you'll engage in a community where you'll find people that are active in the mentoring, kind of the mentoring world, if you will, or people that are willing to interact as a mentor. One suggestion I would like to offer is this. If you are considering engaging with a mentor or finding somebody to help you as a mentor, I would suggest that you formalize that to some degree. In other words, look at what you want to get out of the relationship, what your role as a mentee is, and what you'll commit to as the mentee, and what maybe the mentor is comfortable with. Suggestion would also be to maybe set up a somewhat regular kind of interaction with your mentor, and make sure that your interactions are as value added as possible. All right, those are some considerations I would give you. All right, another question is, let's see. Sorry for Ellen, you have a question on specifically something very specific to your particular industry. I think that one of the things I would consider, she's asking for some specific advice on shipping. That might be one that would be useful to talk to maybe some of your other people not in the same industry as you, but maybe some other entrepreneurs whose business includes a lot of packing and shipping, and see what they're doing. I would try and interact with other entrepreneurs to find out how to best ship my materials and those sorts of things. Okay, we are coming toward the end of our webcast. I want to share with you what our next author is who's going to be and what they're going to be talking about. Some of you will likely know that we do our author series. We offer our author series every month, with the exception of December. We know people's schedules are and calendars are packed in December, so we all wish you the best in your season, your holiday season. We will resume the author series in January, and our author, in fact, it's January 14th. Our author is Pete Worrell, and his book is called Enterprise Value. The book is intended to speak to how and why the best seasoned, successful entrepreneur, owner, managers are able to earn a fortune and create a permanent positive legacy. So it is a book focused on how to get the best out of your business and create a long-lasting legacy for your business. Again, thank you so very much for your attendance today. We look forward to interacting with you again. You'll see my contact information is on the screen. Certainly feel free to contact me via email. Follow me on Twitter if you're so inclined, and follow FastTrac at FastTrac. And you'll see that we engage with our community on a regular basis and look forward to doing so, more so with you in the future. All the best, and thank you again for attending.